Hi, everybody. Welcome in. As you're joining, feel free to throw what institution you're coming from in the chat and see where we have folks joining from. Hey, everyone who's just joining now. Still see some people trickling in. Maybe we can give it one more minute, Alicia, and then kick off. Does that sound good?
That works for me. And I see some names I recognize, so welcome everyone. Glad you're able to join us today. All right, do we want to get started, Jane?
Let's do it. Hi, everyone, and welcome into a customer training on the Integrations Hub and some best practices for managing your integration and troubleshooting issues. First off, we're going to kick off with some intros here in a moment, and then Alisha will walk us through the key hub features and how you can best leverage them for your integration health. I'll walk through a little bit more of a technical walkthrough on how to troubleshoot common errors. And then we'll give you a sneak peek of some integrations items that are coming soon. And finally, we'll wrap with a quick Q&A. Feel free to throw your questions into the Q&A throughout the session, but we'll probably wait to address those all at the end. Over to you, Alisha.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Alisha Brown. I'm a customer success manager here at CoreStall. As mentioned, I recognize some of the names in the chat. So there are a handful of institutions that I work with to make sure that you all are up to date on everything CoreStall and have all the resources and information you need to feel comfortable adopting it on your campus. I'm excited to partner with Jane today to talk a little bit more about your use of the Admin Hub since it's recently rolled out. And Jane, can you talk a little bit more about your role here at CoreStall?
Definitely nice to meet you all if I haven't already. I'm Jane Klaus, and I'm our product manager for integration experience. So working on all features related to making your integrations easier to understand and manage. And previously, I was actually a data engineer, so I might have worked with some of you during the implementation process.
Perfect. Thank you. So moving into an overview of the hub. So we want to start today by providing an overview of what you can find in what we consider the back end of the platform. Many of you are familiar with the admin panel, which is where you have historically accessed configurations that drive the look, feel, and functionality of what you see on the front end of the platform. Now, have no fear, the admin panel still exists. We just moved anything that's integration related to the integrations hub. And so we've included a bulleted list of each of those areas just to give you an idea of what should be managed in each of those spaces. So if we are focusing on the admin panel, you can think of this as a place where you can manage product related settings. This includes the initial setup of your single sign-on information, and general settings like maybe the products you have access to or your school ID information. There's a user activity log that can track every action within the platform. And for our catalog and events customers, there are also settings here that affect your public facing sites. So you can manage those still within the admin panel. As mentioned, the integration hub is going to be anything integration related. And we've included those bullet points on the slide, but we're actually going to go into more depth about how this may relate to some of the actions that you were used to taking within the admin panel. So first on the list is going to be the Integration Health Dashboard or the Integrations Hub homepage. And this was created in response to feedback that we received from you all about the challenges that you all were facing with finding and resolving integration related errors. So instead of receiving that merge report via email and then having to comb through it and try to find what the error is, maybe you have multiple windows or tabs open to do so, you can now use this singular view to review all of your integration errors along with the details to help you troubleshoot. So for scheduling errors, you can see the course name directly in the hub and even resolve those errors in the hub. And then for curriculum, you can click on the object ID, which you can see linked here on the slide, to take you directly to the course, the program that may be having issues. And as part of our conversation today, Jane is going to walk us through kind of those steps and levels within troubleshooting so you can feel empowered to take some steps on your own. The next tab on the menu is going to be Merge History. So this allows you to be proactive in monitoring your integration health. Nothing has to be wrong for you to go look at your merge history or your merge reports. We encourage you to do so. They are on the back end for you to be able to access at any time. This information is going to display any communication that is occurring between CourseDog and your SIS. And so the example on the screen is going to be the view that you have once you click into a specific instance or a specific merge report from that history section. This section also provides access to the number of updates that were made, specific entities that were updated, and the overall runtime it took to make those changes. You'll also notice some tabs here across the top. You can use the Updates tab to review the changes that were made. And then the Backups tab has some information that's accessible about full backups from each step that was taken during the merge process. Field settings are a better way to visualize configurations for the entities that you're interacting with on a daily basis within the front end of the platform. So previously, these settings lived within different parts of the admin panel, which sometimes made it a little harder to know the combination of these settings that were associated with any given entity. So by clicking on any of these tiles, you'll have view-only access to your default source of truth for all fields that are associated with it. If you've ever used filters to exclude information from entering CourseDog, that also now lives within these tiles. So the example I'll give, sometimes maybe there are subject codes for courses that you never plan to offer again, and you don't want those coming into CourseDog. You can exclude those through the use of filters. More recently, I was working with an institution that had a building that was being filtered out. That maybe they weren't previously using, but now they needed access to it. The filters are a way that you're able to do that. So this is also a great place to start for troubleshooting purposes. If you're expecting data to enter CourseDog and maybe it's not appearing, you can click on the related entity, go into that tile, and review and edit those filters as needed. Attribute mappings also live within these tiles. Attribute mappings translate codes and abbreviations from your SIS and turn them into usable information that can populate your drop downs for you to access when you're filling out any template related information. For curriculum only, you can now edit revision field behavior, and that just helps you determine which fields will persist after changes are made. And then it's also important to note that there are merge settings that are within these individual tiles that can be viewed but not edited. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we move into the next slide that talks more about global settings. But just to reiterate, you can edit your filters and your attribute mappings as needed. Continuing down that sidebar menu, next on the list is going to be global settings. So you may hear us say global settings. We talk about merge settings quite a bit. And we're just talking about the combination of all of the individual settings that is defining how CoreStyle communicates with your SIS and vice versa. So the most important change to note is your merge settings are now protected from edits and are automatically configured based on CoreStall's best practice standards. So merge settings can no longer be updated by customers. CoreStall team members are now able to make those changes on your behalf to help maintain your integration health. And you'll actually see a link at the top of the page once you're in the platform and on the global settings tab that will provide this information to you and recommend that you move forward with a ticket. So the goal of these automatic settings is really to reduce the likelihood of widespread data loss and any integration issues that can come as a result of unintended changes made to these settings. A simple yes that should have been a no can have an effect of maybe you followed all the right directions to bring in a new term and it doesn't show up because of what is set up on the back end. So as mentioned, these are automatically set up for you to set you up for success and give you one less thing to worry about. And this is mostly applicable for our scheduling customers who, prior to this new term, new phase rollout that we've recently completed, you may remember there were a lot of individual steps that had to be taken in the admin panel to bring in a new term. That included toggling some items from yes to no, running manual merges in specific orders. Now that none of that is part of new term, new phase, now that we have simplified that process, a lot of those pieces of functionality are now locked down because you don't need to access them anymore. So if you have previously received guidance that from CoreStall that recommended that you change any of these settings and you want to know how that fits into the new use of the integration hub, I do recommend that you move forward with a ticket there. We can have a data engineer provide guidance, best practices, how it should work. And then if there's anything that may be an issue, we can help you get to the root cause of that and make sure that we're all in line on next steps. I also want to point out, and it's not necessarily visually available on this slide, that we have also introduced role-based control within the integrations hub. And you may recognize RBAC just from the front end of the platform. So having different levels of users that can view and edit specific types of information, that same type of role permission is now available on the back end. So there may be users on your campus that you don't want to see anything at all. There may be some that you want them to be able to view but not edit certain things. So that is also part of us kind of locking down settings and making sure that only the folks that need to view and edit can do so. And the last menu option that we'll review today is going to be the integrations activity log. As a reminder, as mentioned, there is a user activity log available in the admin panel, and that's going to track every change that's made in the platform. The activity log in the integrations hub has a different purpose, and it really focuses on changes that are made to fields and entities that connect back to your SIS. So the example I gave of maybe a setting being set to yes that should have been no, it could show up here and we would be able to immediately identify if that was an issue for you. You can also filter this view to narrow down any integration related actions based on the time period, the source of that change, and then also the type of entity that would have been edited during that time. And if you made any adjustments to filters or attribute mappings, anything integration related is going to show up in this activity log. We've also included an add comment feature here where you can add comments to any changes to integration updates that have been made. And again, this kind of adds that justification for you, maybe a reminder of why those actions were taken, and it's all available and accessible at any point. And I do see the chat going, so continue to drop any questions you have there. And I'm going to pass it to Jane to talk us through some troubleshooting and some best practices as it relates to the hub and integrations.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alisha, for that overview of the hub features. Next, we're just going to be talking through best practices for maintaining your integration and also some specifics on how to troubleshoot integration errors. So first of all, one small step that everyone on this call should take, if you haven't already, is to make sure that you're signed up for merge notification emails. So now this is in the hub under the admin area, merge notifications. You can choose to sign up either for a nightly report or just to get alerted if there's issues. I would definitely recommend, again, if there's any super admins on this call that aren't receiving those emails, make sure you're signed up just so you have that visibility. These reports are going to provide a nightly digest of all real-time and nightly merges so that you can catch issues earlier. And by staying proactive with those reports, you can troubleshoot before errors escalate. That being said, you can also check in on the hub on a regular basis to review a list of all of your active errors. You can filter by the type, the term, just so that you can get a more granular list of what you're looking at. But we're going to give you a walkthrough of once you have this list, whether it's from merge notifications or from the hub itself, how exactly you should think about resolving errors using the hub interface. So I'm going to start with the high level, and then we'll break down how to handle different situations. So you're always going to start with the homepage. This is the list of all active errors. So if an error has been resolved, it'll drop from this page, but it will remain here until it's resolved. So you can look at this as your list of errors that you need to work on now. When you click into each error under View Details, you can review the error message, and we'll talk through steps to resolve the error. Once you resave the section or the course that you're working on, the error will drop from this page once it's resolved. And overall, we'd recommend taking this structured approach with all of the errors that you're working on. In the next couple slides, I'm going to talk through specific scenarios. So we're kind of going to start from easiest all the way to hardest, okay? Your first line of defense is to use any AI-powered resolutions that we have available in the hub. So whenever possible, our LLM will take the raw error message you're seeing and provide plain text error messages and step-by-step resolutions. So this is the easiest way and the first line of defense to managing your errors. So you just follow the steps that are outlined in the error details screen, make the change to whatever section or course you're working with, and save it. Now, we do not have AI resolutions available for all error messages yet. So let's go into step 2, which is really to try to troubleshoot the error on your own. So let's say that there's not yet an LLM resolution. First of all, if you take a look at the error message, some error messages provide a pretty clear message about what needs to be corrected. For example, if we look at this error message, there is some code language there, but we can see basically that there's a missing mandatory value. So that lets you know to go to that section or course, make sure that mandatory value is populated, and go ahead and resave. Additionally, obviously, a lot of you all have been with CourseDog for some time, maybe have worked with a DE on resolving your SIS specific issues before. So if it's a familiar error, definitely feel empowered to apply that same fix that you used before. Definitely a major key is to leverage past experience and use that to quickly resolve errors that you're familiar with. Let's say it's still an error that you're not familiar with. The next step would be to consult our Fresh Stress documentation. So our Fresh Stress documentation contains documentation on common merge errors for each different SIS. So to find the right solution, you'll just come to our knowledge base, search for your specific SIS. And once you're in that document, you really can just do a Control F and search for those keywords that you're seeing in the error message. This can just save you some time so that you're not waiting on a support ticket, because it's proven solutions to recurring errors that we see the most commonly. And yeah, this often will take care of some of the issues that you're seeing come up the most frequently. And then finally, if none of the previous steps have resolved your issue, you should definitely submit a fresh test ticket to our team. And by the way, at any of the previous steps, you can absolutely feel free to reach out with a ticket. But if you have questions, need clarification, or just don't understand what an error message means after following the previous steps, you can go ahead and file a ticket. And we would recommend leveraging the new file a ticket functionality right in the hub. So on every error and on every merge report, you can click to file a ticket. The advantage of doing things this way is that your data engineer who's working on your ticket will be given the merge report ID, all the details about the error, and what section or course you're working on. So they'll be able to resolve your error much sooner than if you just reach out and they need to collect that information later. All right, so that has been an overview of our troubleshooting and best practices. I want to share a couple exciting things that are coming in Q2 that are going to also help with regular integration maintenance. So very soon, actually, in the April release notes, you'll be seeing this field information that we're rolling out on the section and course templates and on individual sections and courses. So field details are now going to appear where you interact with them the most, and it's going to show you what we support as far as actions. So is it a get only field? Do we only post it? Or is it bidirectional, get and post? You'll be able to see the source of truth that's configured in your merge settings, and you'll also be able to see the corresponding SIS database key. So with this information, it's just going to make troubleshooting even easier by giving you this information in context. Previously, obviously, people would be referring to the source of truth documents or possibly trying to review their own merge settings. But this will just make it easier to see right in a section or in a course or when making edits to a template where all this information is coming from and how that's speaking to your SIS. And one more piece that's coming soon. So I mentioned this a bit earlier, but over the course of Q2, you're going to see many more of these AI-powered resolutions start to be rolled out. So it takes some time for our LLM to continue learning and for us to feed it more information. But our AI, again, you'll see start to give you faster and easier solutions, reducing the need for you all to continue to open up fresh test tickets. So stay tuned for that to come. And yeah, so overall, by following these best practices, leveraging the AI resolutions, troubleshooting on a regular basis, using our fresh test documentation and escalating to us when needed, you should be able to resolve errors quickly and efficiently using our new integrations hub. But we are glad to take questions now. And let me take a quick look at the chat and see what we have so far. Okay, someone asked about an ETA for some of the functionality that I just mentioned. So for the template field information, you'll see that roll out in staging in April. So look out for the release notes, I think next week. And then we plan to move that to production in May. For the AI-powered resolutions, it is a gradual process, but over the course of Q2, we anticipate many more of our errors will be covered, and you'll start to see those resolutions popping up more and more. Yeah, let's see what else we've gotten.
I see another question about adding new room information or buildings via the field settings. So that's information that you would still want to enter into your SIS and then have it come over to CourseDog. You wouldn't actually make additions within that space. You're just more so editing things that have already been merged. So continue to follow that process. And I believe we're also looking forward to rolling out some features that relate to bulk CSV uploads that may help you out there. If there are certain settings within rooms and buildings that may live in CourseDog only and could cut back on some of the manual work there.
right. Is there a way to view merge errors for curriculum courses that are not the max effective dated revision? We have some old errors that users are finding, but we don't have a way to proactively find them. Okay, a couple of things here. So first of all, for your course merges, it's going to be based on what your merge settings are configured to do. And for the vast majority of our clients, we merge based on the most recent revision. So that's also what's going to show in the hub. Basically, the hub is going to reflect what is merging on a regular basis. I will say we are exploring adding functionality to the hub that will also surface the historical errors. So just in case you want to look back in time, kind of in the exact case that you outlined, wanting to look at previous revisions, that functionality will be coming soon. But for the time being, the hub is reflective of what's currently merging and what's currently in an error state. Will the field merge information be visible to everyone or limited by role? It's visible to everyone. So this is just additional information we're surfacing about, yeah, of course, the SIS name and how your merge settings are configured for that field. So that will be available to anyone who is able to view your templates, view your sections, or view your courses. Okay, how often should we monitor our merge errors? That's a great question. I really recommend checking in on the hub as often as you can because it just makes your life easier. If you check in daily, you might have 0 or 1 merge error to resolve versus waiting until the end of the week and you might have a few errors piled up. So the more often you can check in, yeah, the easier it's going to make your life. And it looks like someone is following up on why we're not able to edit merge settings. Alisha definitely touched on this earlier. Do you want to kind of expand on the thought there, Alisha?
Yes, so previously, and still using that new term, new phase as an example, there were a lot of actions that had to be taken on the back end to the point where folks kind of needed a checklist to be able to even bring in a new term. And sometimes the adjustments that you made, maybe even again toggling something from yes to no, can have a major effect, a negative impact on the data that's communicating between CourseDog and your SIS. So to reduce the likelihood again of data loss, to mitigate risk, to ensure that the actions you're taking on the front end have the intended effect, it is in all of our best interests to ensure that that information is locked down. But of course, we are here to answer questions. We're here to guide you through that. I wouldn't think of it as a restriction, but more so that extra layer of protection to make sure, again, that the platform is functioning as expected and intended.
Awesome. I think that might be all the questions I'm seeing. Let me do one last pass. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. If you do have any additional questions, feel free to reach out by email, reach out to your CSM, and we will make sure your questions get answered. And I think we're going to wrap here with a quick poll. Jess here from our marketing team is going to have 2 questions pop up for you. And if you don't mind just taking one moment to answer those, that would be wonderful. Alrighty. As you wrap up your poll, feel free to drop off. But again, please reach out over email if you have any additional questions, feedback. Love to hear what you all are thinking about the new hub.